Who is this?
Hello, Samantha. Did you miss me?
When Scream 6 brought Ghostface to New York City in 2023, it became the highest-grossing Scream movie in America. But behind all the stabbing and screaming, there were production nightmares, lost props, and wild secrets. Here are 20 weird and surprising facts about Scream 6. Fact 1. The famous Ghostface shrine scene shows costumes and props from all the previous Scream movies. But here's the shocking truth. None of the original props from the old movies still existed. Not a single costume, not a single knife, not even the digital files for posters. Everything had been thrown away or lost over the years. Production designer Michel Laliberte said there was nothing left, not even the graphics files from posters and book covers. The costume and prop teams had to recreate every single item from scratch by watching the old movies frame by frame. The hardest item to recreate was Stu Macher's iconic robe from the original 1996 Scream. That colorful robe wasn't even a planned costume. Actor Matthew Lillard apparently just grabbed it from a crew member on set and threw it on. Nobody kept records of what brand it was or where it came from. Costume designer Avery Plews had to find screenshots of the robe from the movie, trace the pattern directly on her computer screen, and then sew a completely new robe from scratch based on those tracings. Her office looked like an FBI investigation room with photos and notes covering the walls. This same process had to be done for over 100 different items in the shrine, from bloody shirts to weapons to random party cups. Fact 2. The subway scene is one of the most famous moments in Scream 6, but it almost didn't happen. The directors spent 30% of their pre-production time just figuring out how to film it. They wanted to shoot inside a real New York subway car, but getting an actual subway car to Montreal where they were filming would have cost a fortune. Director Matt Bettinelli-Olpin said it would have cost $1 billion to get a real subway car, move it to their set, and make sure it didn't fall over. Multiple times during planning, the directors seriously considered cutting the entire subway sequence because it seemed impossible. Executive producer Chad Villella admitted they kept asking themselves if they should just delete it from the script, but they refused to give up. Instead, the art department built an entire working subway car completely from scratch on their soundstage in Montreal. They also built the subway platform. Then they had to figure out how to make a stationary subway car look like it was actually moving through tunnels. The lighting and special effects teams worked together to create moving lights outside the windows and subtle shaking to simulate motion. When the cast first walked onto the finished set, everyone was amazed. It felt exactly like being in a real New York subway, not a movie set. Fact 3.
Even a good plan?
The subway scene required an insane amount of work from the costume department. Costume designer Avery Plews had to create 200 different costumes for the Halloween crowd on the subway. About 140 extras were hired to fill the subway car, but they used a clever trick to make it look even more crowded. After filming shots inside the subway car, 45 of those extras would get off, quickly change into completely different costumes, and then reappear on the subway platform as new people. This made the crowd look way bigger than it actually was. Plews used a specific strategy for the costumes. At the beginning of the scene, only 25% of the costumes were creepy or scary, but as the scene progressed and tension built, more and more disturbing costumes appeared until 75% of the crowd looked terrifying. The costumes included references to dozens of horror movies. People were dressed as Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Chucky, Michael Myers, characters from The Babadook, Midsommar, and The Black Phone. There were also people dressed as real celebrities like Julia Fox and David Bowie to balance out the horror. Directors Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillett even snuck themselves into the scene. Bettinelli-Olpin dressed as Kurt Cobain, and Gillett wore a fake butcher knife through his head. They appear for maybe 12 frames, just a split second on screen. Fact 4. For the first time in Scream history, Sidney Prescott wasn't in the movie. Neve Campbell, who played Sidney in all 5 previous Scream films, publicly announced she wouldn't return for Scream 6 because of money. On June 6, 2022, Campbell released a statement explaining that Paramount Pictures offered her a salary that she felt was way too low. She said, as a woman, she had to work extremely hard in her career to establish her value, especially when it comes to Scream. She felt the offer didn't match the value she brought to the franchise after 25 years. Campbell's decision to walk away sparked huge support from fans and other actors. Her former co-star, Matthew Lillard, who played Stu in the original Scream, publicly defended her. He asked if Tom Cruise took less money for Top Gun Maverick, pointing out that women shouldn't be expected to take smaller paychecks than men. The studio reportedly offered Campbell less than $1 million for Scream 6, even though the previous film Scream 5 was a huge hit that made over $140 million. Campbell felt insulted by the low offer, especially since newer cast members were being paid more. The absence of Sidney Prescott was a massive deal for fans, but Campbell stood her ground. The movie was rewritten to focus on the newer characters instead. Fact 5. Hayden Panettiere plays Kirby Reed, a fan-favorite character from Scream 4 who everyone thought was dead. Bringing her back for Scream 6 was a huge deal for fans, but actually finding Panettiere to offer her the role turned into a bizarre mystery. Screenwriter Kevin Williamson told Variety that when they started planning Scream 6, they immediately wanted Kirby back. They had a problem. They couldn't find Hayden Panettiere anywhere. She didn't have an agent or manager. She had basically disappeared from Hollywood. Williamson and the team spent months trying to track her down. They searched online, asked around the industry, and came up with nothing. Panettiere had stepped away from acting to deal with personal issues and wasn't actively working in entertainment anymore. Eventually, Williamson managed to find her through a mutual connection in Nashville, Tennessee. He reached out through this friend and finally got in touch with Panettiere directly. When they explained they wanted her back for Scream 6, Panettiere was shocked and excited. She agreed to return and signed on immediately. The long search was worth it because Kirby's return became one of the movie's biggest surprises. Fans had spent years debating whether Kirby survived the stabbing in Scream 4, and Scream 6 finally confirmed she was alive. Panettiere's performance brought back a beloved character and gave longtime fans exactly what they wanted. Fact 6. Even though Scream 6 is set in New York City and looks exactly like New York on screen, not a single scene was actually filmed there. The entire movie was shot in Montreal, Canada. The production team had to transform Canadian streets into New York using movie magic. They added yellow taxis everywhere to make it look like New York traffic. They changed the names of stores and businesses on the streets to sound more like New York establishments. They even created fake subway stations designed to look like real New York subway stops, specifically the 45th Street station. One of the key filming locations was Sherbrooke Street in the Notre-Dame-de-Grâce neighborhood of Montreal. This street was dressed up with Halloween decorations, New York-style signage, and other details to sell the illusion. The famous bodega scene where Ghostface attacks was filmed at a real store called Dépanneur Saint-Ambroise in Montreal. The production renamed it Abe's Snake Bodega for the movie, which is actually a hidden reference. Abe Snake was the fake name director Wes Craven used when he made adult films in the 1970s before becoming a famous horror director. McGill University in Montreal stood in for the fictional Blackmore University where the characters attend college. The crew did such a good job that most viewers had no idea they were looking at Canada instead of New York. The transformation was complete and convincing. Fact 7. Scream 6 was intentionally made to be the bloodiest and most violent entry in the entire Scream series. The directors wanted the kills to feel more brutal and realistic than ever before. Actress Jenna Ortega, who plays Tara, told Entertainment Weekly that the movie is so violent and gore-heavy that fans might not even notice Sidney Prescott is missing. She said the increased violence and intensity fills that gap. The movie features stabbings that are longer, more graphic, and shown in more detail than previous Scream films. Characters get stabbed multiple times on camera, instead of quick cuts that hide the violence. Blood sprays more, wounds look worse, and deaths take longer. One particularly brutal kill happens in an apartment where multiple people are stabbed in quick succession with blood covering the walls and floor. Another intense sequence shows a character being stabbed on a crowded subway while surrounded by people who don't realize what's happening. The directors wanted Scream 6 to feel more grounded and serious compared to some of the more playful earlier sequels. They believed that setting the movie in a big city with real danger required ramping up the violence to match the stakes. The increased gore definitely worked. Critics and fans noted that Scream 6 felt genuinely scary and threatening in ways that some of the middle sequels didn't. The brutal kills reminded everyone that Ghostface is a legitimate threat, not just a gimmick. Fact 8. One of the biggest changes in Scream 6 is that Ghostface uses a gun. In every previous Scream movie going back to 1996, Ghostface only used knives. The knife is Ghostface's signature weapon, and using anything else felt wrong to hardcore fans. But Scream 6 breaks that rule in the bodega scene. When Ghostface corners Sam and Tara in the store, he pulls out a shotgun and shoots directly at them. This shocked audiences because it felt like a betrayal of the franchise's rules. The directors defended this choice by saying the movie's tagline was New York, New Rules. They wanted to show that bringing Ghostface to a big city changed everything, including how he operates. In New York, guns are more accessible and common in violent crimes, so it made sense that a Ghostface operating in the city would adapt. The gun scene also served a narrative purpose. It showed that this Ghostface was more aggressive, less traditional, and willing to break the established patterns that previous killers followed. The characters even comment on it in the movie, expressing disbelief that Ghostface would use a gun. Despite some fan complaints, the gun scene became one of the most talked about moments in Scream 6. It proved the filmmakers were willing to take risks and change the formula. Whether fans loved it or hated it, everyone had an opinion, which is exactly what Scream movies are designed to do. Fact 9. The Halloween subway scene isn't just visually stunning, it's packed with over 50 Easter eggs and references to other horror movies. Costume designer Avery Plewes and the directors carefully planned every single costume to reference horror history. They started with characters from Wes Craven's other movies as a tribute to the late director who created the Scream franchise. People on the subway are dressed as characters from The Last House on the Left, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Shocker, The People Under the Stairs, and Vampire in Brooklyn. Then they included costumes from classic horror films like Psycho, The Birds, Carrie, The Shining, Halloween, Friday the 13th, Child's Play, and Hellraiser. Modern horror movies were also represented with people dressed as characters from The Babadook, Midsommar, Us, Hereditary, The Black Phone, and X. Some costumes referenced pop culture beyond horror, including Handmaid's Tale characters, and even Sonic the Hedgehog, whose blue head quills can be spotted if you look closely. The directors joke that they've watched the movie 1,000 times and still notice new references they forgot they included. The scene was designed to overwhelm both the characters and the audience with visual information, making it impossible to tell which Ghostface is real. Plewes said they wanted to include horror references that would terrorize Mindy, who gets stabbed on the subway. The layered references reward repeat viewings because fans discover new Easter eggs every time they watch. Fact 10.
You never got to be the leading lady, did you? It was always all about...
With Scream 6, Courteney Cox achieved something remarkable. She became the only actor in the entire franchise to appear in all 6 movies, with theatrical releases across 4 different decades. Cox first played Gale Weathers in 1996, then returned for Scream 2 in 1997, Scream 3 in 2000, and Scream 4 in 2011. After an 11-year break, she came back for Scream in 2022, and then again for Scream 6 in 2023. That means Cox has portrayed the same character in movies released in the 1990s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. No other franchise can claim this kind of consistency with a single actor. Even though Neve Campbell appeared in 5 Scream movies, she skipped Scream 6, which means Cox now holds the record alone. David Arquette would have shared this honor, but his character Dewey was killed in Scream 5. Playing the same character for nearly 30 years required Cox to evolve Gale from a ruthless reporter willing to do anything for a story into a more mature, reflective person haunted by trauma. In Scream 6, Gale is still tough, but carries the weight of decades of survival and loss. Cox's dedication to the franchise is remarkable, especially considering she could have walked away at any point. Her loyalty to the character and the series helped maintain continuity, even as other legacy characters disappeared. Gale Weathers is now as iconic as Sidney Prescott thanks to Cox's commitment. Fact 11. Throughout Scream history, there have always been multiple killers working together. Billy and Stu in the first movie, Mrs. Loomis and Mickey in Scream 2, and so on. But the movies always kept them separated, never showing 2 people in Ghostface costumes at the same time. Scream 6 broke this tradition. For the first time in franchise history, 2 Ghostfaces appear on screen together wearing their costumes simultaneously. This happens during the apartment attack scene where Quinn and Ethan both appear as Ghostface. Seeing 2 masked killers working together created a new level of terror for the characters in the audience. It made the attacks feel more coordinated and dangerous because Ghostface could now attack from multiple directions at once. The decision to show multiple Ghostfaces together was risky because it violated an unspoken rule of the franchise. Previous movies kept the killer's identity secret until the end by never showing them together in costume. But Scream 6's twist was that there were 3 killers, not 2, which made the reveal even more shocking. The multiple Ghostface visual also played into the movie's theme about legacy and family. Detective Bailey, his daughter Quinn, and his son Ethan were all working together to avenge Richie's death from Scream 5. Showing them on screen together emphasized that this was a family mission. The image of multiple Ghostfaces became one of the movie's most memorable and disturbing moments. Fact 12.
I'm sure. Oh, wait, I think I see you. Can you wave?
Scream 6 has one of the most shocking openings in franchise history. The movie begins with film professor Laura Crane getting a classic Ghostface phone call. She plays the horror trivia game and seems like she might be the main character. Then Ghostface attacks and kills her, but here's the twist. Ghostface immediately takes off his mask and reveals he's Jason Carvey, a film student obsessed with the Stab movies. The audience thinks Jason is the killer and the movie will be about him continuing his murder spree. Then a second Ghostface appears and kills Jason. The real killers murder the person the audience thought was the killer. This double twist opening shocked everyone because Scream movies always use the opening kill to set the tone, but they never reveal the killer's identity immediately. By showing Jason as Ghostface, the filmmakers made audiences think they understood the movie's direction, then completely flipped it. The fake-out also served a narrative purpose. It established that being a Ghostface fanatic doesn't protect you from other Ghostface killers. The Bailey family killed Jason because he was going after the wrong targets. They wanted Sam and Tara for personal revenge, not random victims. This opening set up the movie's central theme about toxic fandom and the danger of idolizing killers. It also proved that Scream 6 was willing to break franchise traditions in major ways. No previous Scream movie had ever done anything like this in the opening. Fact 13.
Hello, Samantha. Did you miss me?
The bodega, where Sam and Tara are attacked by Ghostface, is called Abe's Snake Bodega. Most viewers assume it's just a random New York store name, but it's actually a deep-cut reference to Wes Craven, the director who created the Scream franchise. Before Wes Craven became famous for horror movies like A Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream, he directed adult films in the 1970s to pay his bills. He used the pseudonym Abe Snake, so his real name wouldn't be attached to those movies. This was a secret he kept for years, and most people don't know about his early career in that industry. The Scream 6 filmmakers included this reference as a hidden tribute to Craven, who passed away in 2015. It's the kind of Easter egg that only hardcore fans or people who research Craven's full career would catch. The bodega scene itself became one of the most intense moments in the movie. Ghostface chases Sam and Tara through the small store, smashing through displays and nearly catching them before they escape by pushing a shelf onto him. The confined space made the attack feel claustrophobic and terrifying. The fact that this scene takes place in a location named after Craven's secret identity adds another layer of meaning. It's a reminder that even in his absence, Craven's influence and legacy continue to shape the Scream franchise in both obvious and hidden ways. Fact 14. Jenna Ortega, who plays Tara Carpenter, did most of her own stunts in Scream 6 and said the physical action scenes were her favorite part of filming. Ortega told Entertainment Weekly that her fight scenes in Scream 6 were the most physical she's ever done in a Scream movie. She got to really fight with Ghostface instead of just running and screaming. Ortega loved the challenge of learning fight choreography and performing intense action sequences. She worked closely with the stunt coordinators to make every punch, kick, and struggle look realistic. In one scene, Tara fights back against Ghostface in a cramped apartment hallway using anything she can grab as a weapon. Ortega performed these stunts herself, getting bruised and exhausted in the process. She said the experience was empowering because Tara isn't just a victim in Scream 6, she's a fighter who refuses to go down easily. The physicality of the role required Ortega to train before filming began. She had to build strength and learn how to take falls safely without getting seriously hurt. Between takes, Ortega would catch her breath, reset, and do it all over again for different camera angles. The commitment paid off because Tara's survival feels earned through her own determination and fighting skills. Ortega's willingness to do her own stunts added authenticity to the action sequences and showed how much she cared about making Tara a strong, capable character. Fact 15. For the first time in Scream history, Ghostface's iconic white mask got a visual makeover. The mask in Scream 6 looks aged, weathered, and damaged. It has stains, scratches, and a worn appearance instead of the pristine white look from previous movies. Director Tyler Gillett explained that they wanted the mask to reflect the history of Ghostface. This isn't a brand new killer, it's someone connected to the past, using old costumes and embracing the legacy of previous murders. The weathered mask visually represents that connection to history. Some of the Ghostface costumes in the movie are actually meant to be the original costumes worn by previous killers. Detective Bailey collected them for his shrine, and then his family wore them to commit their revenge killings. So the worn-out appearance makes sense in the story. The mask's new look generated mixed reactions from fans. Some loved it because it showed that this Ghostface was different and more grounded. Others felt it took away from the iconic, clean look that defines the character. But the filmmakers stood by their choice, arguing that the visual change matched the movie's darker, more serious tone. The aged mask also looked more frightening in some scenes because it appeared more real and less like a Halloween costume. In close-ups, the scratches and stains added texture and detail that made Ghostface feel more tangible and threatening. The mask became a character itself, carrying the weight of 27 years of Scream history. Fact 16. Scream 6 shattered box office records for the franchise. It opened with $44.5 million in its first weekend, making it the biggest opening weekend of any Scream movie ever. This was especially impressive because the movie didn't have Sidney Prescott, the main character, character who had appeared in every previous film. Many people predicted that Neve Campbell's absence would hurt the box office, but the opposite happened. Audiences showed up in huge numbers to see Ghostface take Manhattan. The film went on to earn over $169 million worldwide, becoming the highest-grossing Scream movie in the United States and Canada. It was the first Scream film to earn over $100 million at the domestic box office since Scream 2 in 1997. These numbers proved that the franchise could continue successfully even without its original star. The box office success validated several bold choices. Moving the setting to New York City attracted new audiences who were curious about seeing Ghostface in a big urban environment. The increased violence and intensity appealed to horror fans who wanted a scarier experience. And the focus on the newer characters from Scream 5 worked because audiences had connected with them. Paramount Pictures immediately started developing Scream 7 based on these numbers. The financial success of Scream 6 ensured that Ghostface would return for more sequels, keeping the franchise alive for a new generation of horror fans. Fact 17. The scene where Mindy gets stabbed on the subway is terrifying because of how the other passengers react. Most people on the train don't realize what's happening even as Mindy is being attacked right in front of them. This creates a disturbing sense of urban isolation and indifference. What makes this scene even more effective is that some of the confusion was real. The directors didn't tell all the background actors exactly when or how the attack would happen. They wanted genuine surprise and uncertain reactions from the crowd. When Ghostface pulls out the knife and stabs Mindy, some extras were legitimately shocked and didn't know if they should react or stay in character. This created the chaotic, unsure energy that makes the scene so uncomfortable to watch. The subway attack also plays on real fears about being in danger on public transportation. In a crowded space surrounded by strangers, nobody knows who to trust. The fact that multiple people are wearing Ghostface masks makes it impossible to identify the real killer until it's too late. Mindy's attack is especially brutal because she's the character who understands horror movie rules. She's the Randy of the new generation, the film nerd who should be able to predict what's coming. But even with all her knowledge, she still gets stabbed. The scene proves that being smart and aware doesn't guarantee survival. Sometimes the killer just wins. Fact 18. When designing the Ghostface shrine, the filmmakers faced a challenge. They wanted to show the victims from previous movies alongside the weapons and costumes used to kill them, but they couldn't just use photos of the actors because of rights issues and because it might look cheap or disrespectful. Production designer Michelle Laliberte came up with a creative solution. She hired an illustrator to create hand-drawn portraits of all the victims. These drawings were made to look like they were created by the shrine's curator, adding a disturbing personal touch. The illustrated portraits ended up looking more emotional and artistic than photographs would have. They felt like obsessive fan art created by someone fixated on the murders. This added to the creepy atmosphere of the shrine. Each portrait captured key details about how the character died, making the shrine feel like a grotesque museum exhibit. The shrine itself contains over 100 items from across 5 previous Scream movies. There are 9 Ghostface costumes representing each killer. There's the knife that killed various victims, bloodied clothing, personal items, and even party cups from Stu's house. One of the most iconic items is the TV that was dropped on Stu's head in the first Scream. That same TV later gets dropped on another Ghostface's head in Scream 6, creating a perfect callback. The attention to detail in the shrine made it a paradise for longtime fans who could pause and identify every reference. Fact 19. Scream 6 constantly references Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, the 1989 movie where Jason Voorhees leaves Camp Crystal Lake and attacks people in New York City. The comparison is obvious because both movies feature an iconic slasher villain killing people in Manhattan. The filmmakers embraced this similarity instead of ignoring it. One character is named Jason Carvey, a clear reference to Jason Voorhees. During scenes in his apartment, you can see Friday the 13th Part 8 playing on his TV in the background. The movie is explicitly shown multiple times, making the reference impossible to miss. There's also a tribute to the famous subway chase scene from Friday the 13th Part 8. When Ghostface attacks Mindy on the subway, it mirrors the scene where Jason chases victims through a New York subway car. The connections don't stop there. Tony Revolori's character being named Jason is just one example. Samara Weaving's character Laura has the last name Crane, which is the same as Marion Crane from Psycho, another horror reference. These names aren't random. They're carefully chosen Easter eggs for horror fans. The Friday the 13th references work on multiple levels. They acknowledge that Scream 6 is doing what Jason Takes Manhattan tried to do, but failed. They also highlight how Scream has always been a meta-franchise that comments on horror movie trends and history. By directly referencing another Killer Goes to New York movie, Scream 6 shows confidence that it did the concept better. Fact 20. The subway sequence sequence wasn't just difficult to build, it was incredibly complex to film. Cinematographer Brett Jutkiewicz told Screen Rant that they spent an entire month in pre-production just figuring out how to shoot the subway scene. The challenge was making a completely stationary subway car look like it was moving through underground tunnels at high speed. They tried multiple different approaches and threw out several ideas before finding a solution that worked. The final method involved a collaboration between multiple departments. The lighting team created moving light patterns outside the windows to simulate passing tunnel lights. The grip department added subtle shaking and movement to the camera to make it feel like the car was in motion. Sound designers added the rumble and clatter of subway tracks. All these elements combined to trick the audience's brain into believing the car was actually traveling. The actors also had to help sell the illusion by swaying naturally as if the train was moving. During filming, the subway car was mounted on a platform that could be slightly moved to create realistic motion. The platform wasn't elaborate, but the small movements combined with lights and sound made it convincing. The director said that when they finally got on set and saw everything working together, it felt like they were actually in a New York subway. The hard work paid off because the subway scene became the most talked about and memorable sequence in the entire movie. And there you have it, 20 weird and surprising facts about Scream 6, the movie that brought Ghostface to the big city. From recreated props to brutal kills, this film pushed the franchise in bold new directions. If you love these facts, hit like, subscribe, and let us know which movie you want next.